Well, hello there guys, welcome back to Karin's Orchids, and if you're here for the first time, make sure you subscribe. Would be highly appreciated, as always. Here's a share of my orchid collection. Warmer growing orchids. Cattleyas, bulbophyllums, phalaenopsis, vandus, ringostylis. So you can see, there is a lot of stuff in here. Miltasias. Yeah. It's, absolutely crowded with the warmer growers. To add on a little bit more diversity to my growing, I use clay pots with a mix. I use plastic pots with semi-hydro leca growing. And I even, in some cases, use plastic pots with regular bark, ready-mix bark mix, or pure bark. In some cases, it's gravel. Sometimes a little bit more peat to it. So it varies, it differs. I like to try out different types of stuff to see what works in my conditions. So I picked out a couple of plants that we're going to address today. And I will tell you guys why I'm going to repot them and how I'm going to repot them and in what. So before I start a repot session, I need to see to that I have the accessories and equipment I need to make that very specific repot that I have in store. When it comes to semi-hydroponic repots, leca beads. For me, I've noticed that the species Cattleyas are put into semi-hydro as adult plants have been struggling a lot more than the species Cattleyas I transition into semi-hydro at a younger stage. As in this case, Persivaliana tipo. And in many cases, when you receive an orchid from a nursery, it's going to be sitting in a very, very dense sphagnum moss plug in an extremely, extremely tiny pot. Try to determine where its next growth will be. Or if I cannot, I would place the orchid directly to the center of the pot, into the leca beads with the moss plug and all. And 2.5 years later, I can actually see that, well, was to this direction. Yeah. Alright, too bad. So it cannot fit. Probably won't fit its newest roots altogether. So I need to make a repot, or as we say when it comes to semi-hydroponic growing, do a cleanup. Yes? Here's another example of something else. It's a Cattleya hybrid, Rune Cottleyanti Chief Sweet Orange. I kept the moss, but in this case I could determine where its newest growth will be coming out, so I could make plenty of room in front of it. This one is going to be able to sit in this medium without any cleanup for the for at least 1 more year. Yes? If they like it, they're going to create plump, beautiful pseudobulbs. Some say that Cattleya orchids needs a wet and dry cycle, but as the leca beads provides a very, very airy condition down there, it works. It really works. I've been trying out semi-hydroponic for other types of orchids, but the Cattleyas seems to be the ones acclimatizing the best of them all. Here's another great example. Not a species, but well, a wonderful hybrid. RC Star of Siam pumpkin. But she looks really, really hydrated. So, the conclusion I can draw is when they like semi-hydro, they really like it. If they don't, they really don't. The pros with semi-hydroponic growing are that if they like it, you will get plump, lovely pseudobulbs. You wouldn't have to worry about it getting too little water and being too little hydrated. That much. Now the con is that you need to flush them. This is the way I used to keep them. Today, almost all of them have been placed directly into the outer container with holes to avoid this gap. But the con is that I cannot see the roots. But I don't really think I need to see the roots, if you see what I mean. As long as they're plump and beautiful and growing well. Nice leaf set, shiny, smooth leaves. I don't really think that you need to see the roots. But you need to flush them. If you have a very, very, as we say here in this country, hard water with lots of lime in it, you can easily see what's in your water by measuring the water with a TDS meter, total dissolved solution. I have soft water, but still it's not great since I have a lot of chloramide in my water, and that's not good for any living organisms, really. Yes, but still it works as it's quite soft and doesn't contain much else really. It gets to up to 100 when I measure it, and that's quite low if you compare it to other parts in this country where they have a lot more lime in the water, a lot more calcareous. So the pH will be higher oftentimes, and unwanted particles will stick to the lacquer beads if you do not flush, and it will eventually kill off the roots, to put it plain and simple. I'm not going to go further down into that rabbit hole, but it's very, very important that you flush. Yeah, flushing is not hard. It's quite easy. But the con is that you do forget it. And if you choose an inner pot, it will eventually build up loads of algae. But in this type of container, there won't be any algae build-up, so there's a better way of growing. And you start by cutting a wick, which you will preferably need in a semi-hydroponic setup, and preferably use a sharper scissors than I am. By each cleanup, I throw away the old wick. I don't reuse them, so to speak. Microfiber cloth, that's what I'm using. If I don't use an inner container, I need to do it like this. Yes? And add the spare piece of it underneath the gravel, the layer of gravel, which is going to be a top layer to the surface. Yes? So, bury it so you don't see it. The name tells you that it's got wicking properties for the water and moisture to go up there, and not just stay down there. So it will help a little bit. And if you do not want to use a solid pot like this, but instead choose to use an inside little pot, it's perfectly fine. If you want to see the roots, it's the best alternative. I'm going to go like this. That's how I do it. There's a pro to it, to using this method, down into a reservoir. Yeah, you can easily know if you forgot to fill up the reservoir. If it dried out, this shit is drying out. Oh, what to do? Yeah, if the wick is still wet or fairly damp, you don't really need to flush the whole pot. You can just fill up the water reservoir. But if it's totally dry, then you need to flush the orchid thoroughly with some pure water. Preferably RO water or rainwater. Yeah, that's preferred. But most people do not have that. It's quite expensive with an RO system, reverse osmosis water, so you can achieve pure, really pure water without any additives, almost 0 to none in it. But I cannot achieve it, so yeah, I will need to flush and flush and flush if that happens and the wick has dried out. I'm going to need to flush. So there are pros and there are cons. If you only use this one, you won't know really if the roots are looking alright still, or if there's any water left down there. You can just take a little guess by the sheer weight of the pot. If it feels lighter than before, or if you think that it is lighter, it probably is lighter. So add on a little bit of fertilized water or flush it. Anyways, let's look at the medium. You will need to have a bucket of water with lacquer beads prepared in advance. These lacquer beads have been reused several times, and now they are fresh, clean and boiled. They've been lying there in this bucket of water for a very long time now, waiting for me to reuse them. I can also see a fair amount of gravel, so as I always add a layer of gravel on top of the lacquer to keep the moisture down, as a covering layer. So, when to repot a semi-hydroponic Cattleya orchid? Yeah, this is when it's appropriate. Good growing plant in very good growing stage. Not only to the roots on the outside. These are the problem, really. Sounds strange, but they are. But there are a few more coming before the new growth will appear. This is how this orchid does it. So, let's be really careful. Yeah. This one I showed you in one of my previous videos. The Look Orchidine 2.5 years Orchid Haul Update. BLC Shantung Fancy CT51. It's a gorgeous Cattleya. As you can see, the semi-hydro has got a tendency on collecting algae. And the algae will steal a little bit of the nutrients in there, so let's get a good grip and just get her out. So back and forth, back and forth. Yeah? So, I'm not going to reuse that wick. So, what I'm going to do is cut off what I can see are bad roots. Save the rest in a clump and wash it a little bit. And this I'm going to boil and reuse. Put in the bucket and reuse for later. The lacquer I'm using comes from IKEA and it looks like this. Round, even beads. Not cracked, crushed or uneven, large. No. And they come at a decent price level as well. And they're all local. So, for me, in Sweden, it's right. The IKEA lacquer beads. And the gravel I bought at Hornbach. aquarium section where they sell the aquarium sand and gravel. That's where I got a huge bag, 20 kilo, 25 kilo bag. This beautiful gravel, very cheap. Yes, it's been working well, really well. That's how I do it. But this one is growing on so nicely in this type of setup. I would change it. It will set this orchid back, and it will certainly not make it bloom better. So we'll only scratch off this algae and stuff, and cut off a little bit of what I can find, and make room for about 1 more year's growth. A new wick, like this. Yeah. Now let's move over to another orchid, which needs a repot. So now it's time for repotting material and method number 2 out of 3 when it comes to Cattleya orchids. That's why I choose for this Cattleya. It's a lovely species. Bark and charcoal. Yeah. Ordinary. As it's sitting in a clay pot, I will need to water it fairly often. And I do want to water my orchids at the same rate. Very same time. All of them. And that includes the semi-hydroponic ones as well. He's dehydrated. That new growth has taken up all of the stored energy. So that's why when growing in pure bark, I think it's best to use a plastic pot. It won't dry up as quickly as in clay pots. Yes, well, let's look at another example. This is the Cattleya Cappy, a primary hybrid cross between Trinea semi-alba and Chardonnay semi-alba. She was in full bloom not long ago. I want to show her to you since she's very, very well grown. And she's sitting in simply ready-mix bark from a bag. Not even the best bark from a bag. It's a crappy bark from a bag. What I mean by crappy, yeah. Bag that contains a lot of peat. Let me demonstrate. Look. A lot of peat. And a couple of pieces of bark, larger pieces of bark stuffed in there. I almost count them. Yeah, there are quite a few. So, that's what I've been using. Don't know why. I just figured it doesn't matter. She won't bloom anyways. Look how many she created. But now she's been blooming from them. So it wasn't all in vain. And we can agree on that she did like it, the setup. So, nothing wrong with a crappy bark for cattleyas. If they carry a well-developed root system. Right? Here we have another Cattleya. Recently bought in November last year. Now it's March. A new genus, Volkitara, Taiwan Ming's best lady. Arrived this way. Rose stones and pure bark. Basically, pure bark. See now. What's this? Ah, yeah, it's only perlite. I thought it was scale, but it's crushed perlite. But anyways, now she's in growing stage. It's about time that I repotted her, but she's in sheath. And I don't really know if I want to disturb this orchid this season. It's bark and all. Looks like she's finally a little bit better established in a pot. This little stick came along with it as I bought it. So I put it there at the nursery or maybe the distributor. So she's been probably having a very, very poor root system not long ago. So somebody needed to establish her so she wouldn't wobble around. I use that method myself, so I know why I'm using it. Yeah, on orchids without roots. So they can stay in the pot without wobbling around and break the new roots coming out. So I better just leave her for one more year. As I can see that there's still room here for her next growth. And she's doing well. And maybe she wants to bloom even. So I won't disturb her. Yeah? But this method is alright. Ready mix bark with some grow stones and perlite. And perhaps a little bit of charcoal. And then you will need to use a plastic pot. Not a clay pot. Yes? As you saw in the cappy case up there. Plastic pot. Not clay. At least not in a condition like mine. Yes? Here's another example. Some people say that, oh, it won't bloom. Can't you understand? It won't bloom because she's sitting in semi-hydro. If you switch medium, she will probably manage to bloom. I don't think so. This one is the beautiful Orchid Skillful Apple Chief Jade. She's been sitting in semi-hydro, she's been sitting in moss and bark, in clay pot, and now she's sitting in ready mix bark and perlite and a little bit of charcoal like usual. But as you can see, she's growing on so nicely. Yeah. And why isn't she blooming if she's doing so well? She's been given very, very good light, an extreme drop in temperature during nighttime. Dry rest, no rest. She's been given everything, but still she's not blooming. Not even in this setup. So I don't really think that's the case. The setup is not the con. This orchid. It's a beautiful Cattleya species, which I had for a couple of years. Never repotted it. A friend of mine gave it to me. A friend at the Orchid Society. This is a division of her mother plant, the Cattleya maxima. Look. Now we really need to do something about it. As you can see, bark. Ready mix bark and some moss. Not much down there. She stayed far too long in the old moss. I should have repotted her earlier. For me, moss in a plastic pot is not really my cup of tea. Wonder. I could tease her a little bit upwards. So you can see she doesn't really need that high of a container. She's got such a quite shallow root system. I think if I add or spray it with a little bit of hydrogen peroxide, it could help with the algae buildup. At least when you use it in the aquarium hobby. You can spray rocks and driftwood and stuff with it to remove it efficiently. Let's see in this case how it works. It's going to be in a hanging basket. It's going to be way easier to keep this orchid in a hanging basket. She's so wide. Yeah. So, hydrogen peroxide, 3%. I need to be very careful with the new roots there. The tips can easily break. And I will wash it off in a couple of minutes. Yes. I get rid of a little bit of the algae at least. It will feel better now. So for this orchid, there's actually going to be some ready mix bark, a crappy one from bag with a bit of extra addition of charcoal and perlite, as you can see. Peel it all like this. No moss, as it's sitting in a plastic pot now. This is a lovely hanging basket I got from Orchid Gardeneriet in Denmark. This is one size up, or two size up. It's a little attached saucer down there, so it's a very nice pot. Suit this orchid perfectly. So great. And probably that's the oldest part. It seems like this orchid can grow from any direction, in a way, and any time it pleases. So just a little bit around it, nothing fancy. Yes, maybe I can stake her up so she won't be as wide as she is today. Take care of this orchid a little bit. I need to press this orchid backwards all of the times. Sometimes some new fresh medium is all that's needed. Yes? Yeah. And you probably know the rest. So let us examine my preferred way on growing my Cattleya orchids. It's in a clay pot with moss, bark, perlite and charcoal mix. Look at this lovely Cattleya purpurata, or formerly known as the Laelia purpurata, variation estriata. It's a gorgeously growing plant in sheath with a bud starting to form down there as a little stick. As it's soon going to be this one's season, real blooming season, in April, May. Yeah? Well, look here. It's growing roots like crazy. As the most healthy and fresh medium will always be to the top layer. New roots will seek the way up in some cases. They could fill up a little bit to the top, won't hurt. But I have a thing for not really covering the base. I don't really like it. But anyways, this is a splendid example of something doing really well in my preferred Cattleya mix. This is another one. Brassavola digbiana. You see? Moss and bark. Doing really well. And so the story goes. A lot of them growing extremely nicely in that type of medium. Let's look at another orchid and look at its roots in that type of medium and how I prepare that medium. Yeah? Stay tuned. So now when you know which plants you're going to have to repot, you need to make sure that at least 8 hours earlier, that's just a recommended time range, but 8 hours or 24 hours, a week, a month, it doesn't matter. These clay pots has been there soaking water for 2 weeks. And I will probably intend to let them soak there for some more time to come. Even. Doesn't matter. The intention is to not getting them too dry. We need to get them to retain a bit more moisture. And this is one way of doing it. The pores inside the clay will expand and the pot itself can hold a little bit more moisture for a little bit longer. So that's a good idea. Otherwise, when the medium is drying out and the pot is really, really dry as well, there will naturally be created a little gap between the inside of the pot and the medium, and it will be even drier. So this is a very, very good precaution to take. Look, yes, that's the RC Amazing Thailand Magician. Yeah, one of these amazing Thailand orchids. They are well famous all around the world. But still, she's growing out. If it wasn't for that one, she could have stayed. As this new growth, the other one here, is growing from a perfect, is facing a perfect direction. But the other one isn't, so we need to do something. But before you even try to get it out from the clay pot, make sure you dip border it thoroughly for at least 1 hour. Just first grab the sturdy cane and try to sticks there. But this part is damaged anyway, so why not just tear this whole clay pot apart. Yeah, it's normally easier, but it's very, very pot bound, this orchid. Yeah, you can see no damaged root tips, none whatsoever. This one I can use in my aquarium for the catfish. It's not in vain. Yes, look. No use to dig in there and scratch off and out the old medium. Will be an impossible task for anybody. Almost nothing dead. And here, she just grows so well in this setup. Clay breathe, yes. Keeps the roots cool. So many great benefits and advantages about using clay pots. Some like it and some don't. But as I said, I like to use a couple of different methods in my growing just to make it more interesting and to compare. Interesting for you guys, interesting for me to see the difference. And now I'm going to peel off the sheath here in case there's another eye, another new growth, another new root, perhaps some new roots coming as well. So I can help them on the way out. Yeah, there's a little new eye there as well. So we really need to upsize this pot for it. We can get some better space to grow. Yeah. All right. Not much more. Not much else to do and just make the mix. This time around, there's going to be Karin's mighty mix, as you say. You guys see? That mighty mix is actually, I got the idea from Gothenburg Botanical Gardens, but I modified it a little bit to my own liking. Some good bark, this brand. Doesn't contain a lot of other stuff than simply pure pieces of bark. Quite sturdy pieces of bark, yes. A fair amount of perlite. Some charcoal. And New Zealand sphagnum moss. I'm going to put this one into order for a couple of minutes and let it expand. That goes really fast. Yes. Normally, I soak it Now squeeze out the water, and put it onto a tray and let it dry. And then I cut it. So it's much easier, but I didn't do that. I forgot. So just gonna pick and peel the moss into tinier pieces, as good as I can now. It's just a small amount I'm gonna make this time around anyway, so. This was a new pot. It's gonna be a lot larger, as you can see. At least it looked that way, but it's only 1 or 2 size up. So it's not so bad as I first thought. So this is gonna be great. As you can see, this will hold her for 1 more year. As she likes to sit, or shall we say, as she likes to sit cozy. This is perfect for her. So, quite a good amount of moss this time, with the least disturbance I could possibly do to the roots. Now when she's got going, these plants, these amazing Thailands, aren't actually very, very easy to care for, especially when it comes to blooming. Say one day. We'll just say one day and we'll see. So, next year, new repotting. So, Karin's mighty mix. Moss and bark and perlite based for the clay pots. Bark and perlite, charcoal based, ready mix bark, yeah, in some cases with some peat. For the plastic pots, no moss. And semi-hydro with leca and gravel on top. 3 methods, 3 types of medium for Cattleya orchids and Cattleya type orchids. Yes? Next will be something else. Perhaps pats, frags, dendrobiums. We shall see. So I hope you like this video and the way I presented it in a way for you guys. Hope it resonated with you, and I do want to give this video a thumbs up. And we should talk soon, guys. Bye bye. Take care.